Good evening. Welcome to this regular scheduled business meeting of the Summersville City Council on this 10th day of June 2024. I'd like to welcome all of our guests this evening and get right into this lofty agenda. The first item on the agenda is consideration of the council minutes for the meeting we held on May 13th of 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we got a first and a second. Council, the motion was to waive the reading. Are there any changes or amendments to those minutes as they were presented? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion so carries. Anybody for public comment? Okay, good deal. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of the Webster Road Sidewalk Improvement Phase 3 Resolution for Support application. Council, that was included in your packet, and so I'll go ahead and read the resolution. At a meeting of the Summersville City Council on the 10th day of June, the following order was made and entered. Subject, Transportation Alternative Program Grant Fund application for Phase 3 of the sidewalk construction improvements to Webster Road in the amount of $796,425, whereby the City of Summersville authorizes Robert Schaefer to submit an application to the state of West Virginia requesting funding for the above-mentioned project out of the Transportation Alternative Program TAP Fund. The City of Summersville authorizes Robert Schaefer to sign any and all documents and papers necessary for the completion of the project should it receive West Virginia DOT/DOH approval. Whereas the City of Summersville agrees to abide by all rules and regulations pertaining to the TAP Grant Fund, including the 20% match, and to operate and maintain the proposed sidewalk for public use under the requirements of the TA REC. Trails grant funds should this project receive federal and state assistance. So I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. We got a first and a second. Did you get that, Gary?
I got it.
Okay, whereupon Robert Schaefer, Mayor, declared said motion duly adopted, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion so carried. So Gary, I will sign this. If you want to sign it, and then mark how everybody voted and who made the motion. Okay, so that is approved. That's exciting. That'll pick up Phase 3. And of course, you're going to get an update on the sidewalk project here in a bit by Mary Ann, so we won't go into all those details. She's going to give you an update on all of the sidewalk project. Okay, so council, the next item on the agenda is approval of the Webster Road Sidewalk Project 2 Phase 2 Professional Services Agreement, E.L. Robinson. So what I would like to do in Robert Rules order is get a motion, and then I'll explain why this is before us.
Move to approve.
First, and we have a second.
Second.
Okay, we've got a first and a second. Council, this is the engineering agreement for Phase 2. And the way this works is, in Phase 1, we actually paid for the engineering services out of the actual grant itself. But that's what causes, basically what happens, if we don't pay for this separate from the grant funding, then all of the engineering, the approval of the engineering, and all of the engineering services are managed through the state and the federal government per the grant requirements. So it simplifies and streamlines the process. So in other words, we'll probably cut 6 to 8 months off of the construction time because these funds have been awarded. Plus, we're going to pay an additional $30,000 now to go ahead and pay and take care of the engineering. The first round was 60-some thousand. This is 30-some thousand, and the reason this one is less is because technically a portion of this phase was already engineered in the first phase, but we didn't get enough money to go as far as we were going to go. So what I am requesting is that you approve this, and we pay this out of city funds, which we are more than capable of doing so, and it's going to streamline the process and get us to sidewalk construction about 8 months earlier than what we would see if we have to run all of these processes through that state and federal grant program again. So we got a first and a second. As you can see, the total expense, I even went back to Todd Schoolcraft, the engineer that we work with on this sidewalk project, to see if there was anything that we could tweak and maybe get it off that number, 30,900. I even got down desperate and said, how about the 900? He said, Mayor, that's the deal. So in all reality, and I do so agree, even with him doing it separate from having to qualify and go through the processes of the state and federal program, it's still very tedious, and we kick it out and they kick it back. He kicks it out and they kick it back. So he said, honestly, this probably isn't what I should be billing. If anything, it should be more, not less. So I finally conceded and said, okay, I'll take the $30,900 to City Council. And again, it's been great to work with Todd. He's done us a great job on this project. And so with that said, are there any questions as to us paying this $30,900 engineering bill for the sidewalk phase 2?
How far does it go?
Phase 2 will take us to the Young driveway, from where we're at the pond to the Young driveway. And you're going to get a full update on that. Marianne is prepared to give a full update on all the details. And so when she gives you, because I've had her prepare, we worked on it, and she's going to give you all the details. But this one will take you to the Young driveway, and then she'll tell you where the next project that is going to take us to. She'll give you all that detail, and then of course, obviously, if you got any questions, it'd be better to ask them after that. If there's no further questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion so carries. Thank you. Okay, the next agenda item is approval of the cost responsibility agreement, City of Summersville, NOAA Corp., and Gauley River Powers Partners LP. And council, what this is again, if we could get it in the form of a motion.
Move to approve.
Got a first?
Second.
And a second. Council, what this is this is the document that's going to allow us to go into the market when the PPA, Power Purchase Agreement, runs out in July of 27. And of course, there's a due diligence on behalf of PGM, and PGM is a regional transmission organization that handles and coordinates power movement within 13 states, and they're basically all East Coast states along with the District of Columbia. And so there's many types of arrangements you can get when you go into the PJM. As a matter of fact, you can sell in everyday market if you want. I don't know that's what we're gonna do. We don't even know that we won't stay with an agreement like we currently have, but we certainly don't have this option if we don't do the due diligence. And as you see in this document, there's a study that's got to be done. We're making a $10,000 deposit on that study, and this deposit will be a deposit that will be in a partnership with LS Power, the City of Summersville, and NOAA Corp. All of us will pay for this. The deposit's $10,000, and you can see they have 120 days to complete the modeling, the studies. Interesting enough, there are some potential things that will come of this. As we've learned over the miles of transmission lines that the city owns, we are losing power off those lines because we're going so far from the plant to where we actually transmit the power. And so there's other things that we're going to be looking at in the future, maybe an upgrade of our line system. BJ, you could probably speak to this better than me. Anyway, that's one of the other things that I can tell you I might be bringing before you in the future is a study to actually look at that. But this study will probably incorporate some of that, telling us that you're losing power from where you're generating it to where you're transmitting it, and it's because of the size of line that we have from the power plant to the transmission, where we actually transmit the power to the power company now. So again, this is doing due diligence to get ready for us going into a new power purchase agreement in July of 27. So we have a first and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion so carries. Anything you want to add to that, BJ?
I mean, it's really deep that when you get that far into transmission lines, but as far as the upgrade stuff, it's just capacity and load. It's the load demand, and if you don't have the capacity to handle, you gotta upgrade your facilities, you know.
Yeah.
So, and distance is a part of that. It's kinda like a garden hose. You're in your garden, the longer the garden hose, less pressure you have.
Yeah.
Should get more pressure on it.
Good deal. Thank you, BJ. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of a contingent fee contract, the City of Summersville and Webb Law Firm, PLLC, for claims against Express Scripts and Optimum RX and their affiliate companies. Council, this is the same law firm that we dealt with before through the opioid settlements. And so, as you can see now, the next direction is taking it a step farther. As you know, through this processes, they've discovered that there's other companies that hold liabilities in the situation. And so now the Webb Law Firm is filing a class action suit on behalf of probably the same clients he had before. But what I'm asking is that we be one of those clients. And so, as you see, you got the contingent fee contract along with confidentially attorney-client communications and attorney work product. So I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the contingent fee contract. Any questions? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion so carries. Okay, now we move to Office of the Mayor, City Project Updates. My Executive Assistant, Marianne Taylor. Council, just before Marianne starts, I figured that what we've got is a whole lot moving and going on in the city. And, you know, to not only get the information to you, but out to the public and get a good, thorough update. And what I plan to do is once a month, have Marianne come before us and give you an update on the city projects. And this will get a little deeper in the weeds. It's still probably 500, in some case 1,000-foot look at what's going on. But she's going to, and then of course when she's done, please, if you've got questions, that's what we're here for. So Marianne, the floor is yours. Welcome.
It's my pleasure to share with you some exciting updates on projects in the city. And I do want to say that well, I actually just want to thank you. I want to thank the mayor and council because you are a forward-moving team, and that puts the city as a leader and in a very positive and impactful way. So I do want to say thank you because I have about 11 or 12 projects I'm going to talk about tonight, so that's quite a bit. So the first group are the projects that Mayor Schaefer is actively working on out of his office, and these include the Webster Road Sidewalk Project, the Kentucky Road Stormwater Project, the Old Main Gym Floor, the Visitor Center, and the Summersville Recreational Complex. So we'll start with the Webster Road Sidewalk Project. There are 3 phases to this project. Phase 1 includes Grove Street to the Tolly Pond in the amount of $513,210.97. The city's match is $102,642.19. The work on this project will begin sometime this week and will be completed by the end of November. Phase 2 will go from the Tolly Pond to the Young Family property in the amount of $672,129. And the city's match is $134,425. And then phase 3, which will go from the Young Family property to South Street. The project estimate at this time is $796,425, which you've already heard. And the city match is $159,285. And the application for funding will be completed by June 21st, as you've already talked about it and have got it signed. The next project is the Kentucky Road Stormwater Project. The city is working with Region 4 on this project. Correspondence has been received from the Department of Highways regarding the permit that's needed. Currently, environmental documents are being finalized to be presented to the state for review and approval by the end of June of 2024. This project is on track and will remain on the current project schedule. The Old Main Gym floor, very exciting. I posted some pictures of the floor last week on Facebook, and we got a lot of response on that. But the new floor has been installed. It's in the sanding, or was being sanded last week. It's to be followed with the varnishing and then the markings. This should be completed by the end of this month.
Actually, it was accepted today. It's finished and, yep, I meant to tell you that, sorry.
Okay, that's
Yeah, we
okay.
accepted it today.
That's great.
Yep, it's done.
So it's done. It will be designed, or it is designed for regulation basketball, biddy basketball, volleyball, and pickleball. The next project is the Visitor Center, which, as we all know, is very much needed. The Centersville Convention and Visitors Bureau does need to have a home as they work really hard to promote tourism in our area. Because in addition to all the outdoor recreation that we offer, we look forward to the addition of Summersville Lake State Park that they're working on, and also we're the gateway to the New River Gorge National Park, so we are seeing an increase in tourism, and we expect more to come. The city's been awarded $2.8 million from congressionally directed spending for the 2024 fiscal year, and $500,000 from the Nicholas County Commission. The Visitor Center is approximately a $3.4 million project. The first thought for a new site was the Sillinger property on Route 19. However, the family does not have it for sale. They're not putting property up for sale. So with the new Summersville Lake State Park, there was a possibility of a combined welcome visitor center. However, the state decided not to partner with the city due to funding restrictions. However, there are 2 pieces of property currently under review, and work is being expedited to soon be able to come back to council with more information. The Summersville Recreational Complex is going to be a great complex, great place for the community to enjoy and also to host sporting events. The city is working with a finance director to ensure the city's financial position to sustain a $10 million loan to complete Phase 1, which is trails, and Phase 2, which is the soccer fields. Following is the proposed schedule for the enactment of the necessary ordinance by the Building Commission for the issuance of the lease revenue bond, Series 2024A, not to exceed the $10 million. Building Commission first reading of the bond ordinance is to be announced. Building Commission's second reading of the bond ordinance is scheduled for Monday, July 8th at 5 p.m. And Building Commission public hearing and third reading of the bond ordinance is scheduled for Monday, July 22nd at 5 p.m. And following is the proposed schedule for the enactment of the necessary ordinance by the City of Summersville for the issuance of the lease revenue bond, Series 2024A, not to exceed $10 million. The City of Summersville's first reading of the ordinance is scheduled for Monday, July 8th at 6 p.m. The City of Summersville public hearing and second reading of the ordinance is scheduled for Monday, July 22nd at 6 p.m. Region 4 and City Grant Writer Annabeth Marsh have worked on congressionally directed spending funding for Senators Manchin and Capito. It's exciting to announce that Senator Manchin has requested an earmark for the 2025 fiscal year in the amount of $6 million for the soccer field phase of the complex. The city does hope to announce a date for the groundbreaking of the complex soon. The engineer is working with the trail and soccer committees. The chairman of the trail committee is Michael Young, and the chairman of the soccer committee is Jeremy Bandy. I also want to mention that as in the agreement with the property owner, the road coming into the complex is to be named Quinn Way, and the address will be sometime later this week. So those are all the projects from the mayor's office. The projects that I'm leading as the executive assistant to the mayor include the CMI2 Troop Support Committee, the Homeless Commission, the Electric Charging Station, Summersville Beautification Committee, Accelerate West Virginia, and Build West Virginia. So CMI2 Troop Support just is actually led by Wally Hatfield of CMI2. He is the chair of that committee. CMI2 is, or this committee is actually a partnership between the cities of Clay and Summersville and their respective counties. CMI2 is a civil military innovation institute, and it offers a challenge and combat realistic facility for civil and military users seeking environment for research development for military technology. Facility is now located in Lismore, and the committee is charged with offering tourism itineraries to civil and military troops to enjoy when they have their downtime. So currently the committee is working on QR codes and other informational pieces to have available at the facility that will showcase both Clay and Nicholas. And this is really a great opportunity to again capture more tourism and more dollars to impact the economy. The Homeless Commission is chaired by myself and Councilman Eckling. And we currently have 26 members on the commission. And I will have to say that we really did not have to go and recruit anyone to the commission. We had phone calls of people that were interested in serving. And after we did host our first meeting on May 13th, both Jim and I both were in total agreement that the members of the commission are definitely passionate and they're very dedicated to finding ways to improve the quality of life for our homeless population. So our next meeting is actually next Monday, the 17th, and one of our members is David Ridgway, and he has stepped up, and he is going to lead a program at our meeting that's going to help us identify ideas and solutions. The commission is also working to set up a time with the West Virginia Coalition to End Homelessness, to have someone from that coalition come and speak to at our meeting to help give us some guidance on some things that are happening on a state level. So I will definitely be back at some point in time with updates on the commission. The electric charging station has been a very long process, and unfortunately it's still sitting at the street department garage. However, we are just waiting for the power company to install the power. That we have an electrician waiting to go to install the station. But I just want to give you a little background because it has been a while, but the city of Summersville did enter the Rural Reimagined EV Charging Network program through Tennessee Tech as a host site. So the city has leased 2 parking spaces from Northside Rental Properties at the Ferguson building. As I said, we currently already have the model here, just waiting on the power. We do plan to have a ribbon cutting for the opening of the charging station, and we will be marketing the location of the station. We are working on a price for a vehicle charge, and the customer, when they come to charge, will just pay for that charge via app on your phone. I have been in touch with Professor Chen, who oversees Tennessee Tech, who oversees this program for Tennessee Tech. He's very nice. He's very passionate about what he's doing. He's got all the information ready to do the study when we get ours installed. He's already doing studies on others that have been installed. And we'll get access to that information, which I think will be helpful because some of that information will include how many people stop by to charge their vehicles and where they are from. That could be valuable information for Tracy at the CVB to target, those areas of people that are coming through. The Summersville Beautification Committee is actually led by Chair Lauren Bean, has approximately 10 members. The committee just completed a mural on the outside wall of the old main gym, so if you have an opportunity to go by and see it, it is a sports-themed mural, and it focuses on sports from the past and the present. The city is working on having some brush and trees removed so that the mural can be a little more visible for people coming by. Currently, the beautification committee is focusing on a new project, and it's a revitalization of the alley next to City Hall. This is in the planning stages, and the committee is working on an outline of suggested improvements, a sketch, and a budget. So I'll be returning again to council once that planning process has been completed. But I can assure you that I believe, and the committee believes, that this project will definitely improve the aesthetics of the alley. Accelerate West Virginia is a program that's offered by the West Virginia Hive and the West Virginia Hub. It offers 16 communities in southern West Virginia professional coaching services to support diverse leadership teams, pre-development services for sustainable green development projects, and entrepreneur development and training services. There were 6 applicants that were chosen for the cohort 1. They're now in cohort 2, which is the final part of it, and they will be accepting 10 applications. So the city of Summersville did apply for this program on April the 15th. One of the requirements for the application was to form a leadership team of at least 7 members. And I have to give a lot of credit to Sean Singler, the owner of Fresh Start Market, because she really took leadership there and found a very good, diverse team that's willing to put the time and effort into the year-long training for this program. So we have a great team, and our application, Annabeth March worked on the application for us to submit. That application passed the first phase. The second phase was a site visit. It's the second and final phase. We had our site visit last Monday. We had 5 site counselors come, and they spent 3 hours with our team. The team did really well, a lot of discussion on energy, agriculture, tourism, also talked about challenges that the city and the county face. We also, sung our praises as to why we are the perfect candidate for this program. We will find out within the next week, no later than June 17th, if we've been accepted into the program. The program will provide the team with really a vast array of knowledge, and it will also provide up to $45,000 for technical assistance for a project. Now, we don't have a project yet because we're going to go through this training to identify a project. But it will also open doors for grant funding that will help assist us with this project and improve economic resilience. So I'm real hopeful. I feel really good about it. I will say that they were excited that the city applied because they have great respect for all of the leadership in the city and all the good things that the city has done. And my final project is fairly new, but it's called Build West Virginia. And it is a program that will provide tax incentives to encourage the development of residential housing in designated areas of West Virginia. And we definitely need housing. So we were excited about this project. The city is currently working with the New River Gorge Regional Development Authority on the application process. At this time, though, there is a hold from the state on applications being accepted, but we're still moving forward in the discussion with the New River Gorge Regional Development Authority, getting everything ready and lined up so that when that application window opens again, we'll be ready to submit our application. So that concludes my updates on the projects, and as you've heard, the city has a lot of good things happening. And I will answer any questions if you have any questions. I know that was a lot of information.
Okay. A couple of things, Mary Ann, that I would feel remiss if I didn't mention, and I apologize for this. CMI2, excitingly, the Summersville Police Department has partnered with them, and they're getting ready to make an announcement sometime in the near future on an active shooter course that will be one of the best in the country. because of the resources that CMI2 brings to the table, where they can actually do active shooter with lasers and technology today that's available with the companies that they're contracted with and working with. So I know that's well underway. The curriculum is being designed, and then of course some of the details on, it'll be a training where the classroom will be in Summersville, and the actual training itself, whatever you would call that, the OJT of the course, or whatever it's called, it will be actually down at Lismore at CMI2. So that's a neat partnership that we've developed too. And then Marianne mentioned the EV charging station. And I got to tell you that regularly I'm asked about what the city's doing about charging stations. And especially with a conference we had last week, I had several people come up to me and say, hey, you know, where can I charge my car? And so anyway, so that is a definitely needed, you know, a needed resource here in our city, because as we continue to build and promote tourism, we've got to be able to support all vehicles and electric, you know, us not having, well, we do. Matter of fact, I sent them your way, Stevie. Yeah. But again, so we're taking care of that, and that is a need for us and our footprint in the city. Any questions, council?
I do want to also mention with CMI2 that next week, Lindsay from the Chamber, Tracy from the CBB, and myself are heading to Clay County to meet with them and to meet with Wally from CMI2, so that we can get an idea of what Clay County has to offer and talk to some of those business owners about what we have to offer. So it's really a good partnership that we formed with them also.
Could one of you explain to me or clarify what's going on for the visitor center now?
So, you know, obviously we went and got the documents and the approval from our funding sources to partner with the state. And after a due process with the state, they elected not to include us in the project because of the restrictions, environmental restrictions that our funding brought. Because if you use state funding, there's one level of environment stuff you have to do, and really a lot of it's very tedious. Not that the property wouldn't qualify. It's just the process itself that the state didn't want tied to their money. So I was notified that they did not want to partner with our money. They're going forward with their visitor center, state-funded visitor center, and so that put us back in a quagmire. And right now we have a very comprehensive review of which has highlighted 2 properties, which I don't even know, as I sit here right now today, that either one of those properties are going to be available. And of course, due to the fact of the confidentiality and us moving forward and trying to purchase, we don't want to disclose where they're at. But so it is my hope that by the first meeting in July, we've nailed down a property, if not our second meeting this month. So we're just still doing due diligence on property. So yeah. And the Sealingers, as Marianne mentioned, pulled their property completely off the market, said they didn't want to sell it. So it's not an opportunity to go back there. And with the project funding now, as a matter of fact, the engineer is already reworking the building, because the outlay of the building will probably be somewhat different, because up there we were looking at 20 acres, now we're probably looking at 2 or 3 acres.
Is the funding still a commitment?
Yes, the funding's still committed. As a matter of fact, it's committed as of last week, and I even was in some dialogue today. But what we have to do is we've got to get a property because of the go to construction date. We really need to get to construction as soon as possible. We've got a lot of due diligence even after we identify a piece of property. Okay, any other questions?
I did notice a mural up there on the school, well, the old gym, but it does need trimmed out.
Yeah.
Was,
So actually, the bid came in this afternoon. It's gonna be done through the Forestry Council, and I can even tell you the bid because I saw the number. That whole side, the only thing that should be standing is the big oak tree on the top, and it's gonna be trimmed all the way up, so you'll be able to see it. But that whole hillside's gonna be cleared off, and the bid that we got this afternoon was $4,500. And that stump's cleaned out and everything. So it'll be completely cleaned out, so when you drive down that road, you'll be able to look up there and, yeah.
On Allen,
Yeah.
on the street.
And just another update, we did accept the floor today. Mary Ann and my wires just didn't get back to where I could tell her they accepted it. But it's all done. Gary was part of that. I invited the committee that helped put the floor together, that we were all there, did a walkthrough. It's absolutely beautiful. But what we're gonna do, we have monies in Park and Rec right now that we kind of reserved for maybe even pre-expenditures of the park. That is a part of our assets that's gonna be put into Park and Rec, and I'll further explain that tonight. And so what we're gonna do is we're looking at several things. One, we need to pave up into there. If you go in there now, the entranceway is horrible, the tiles busted up. So that floor will be redone, and we are looking at trying to get the entire inside of the building painted before we turn it back over to the school in the end of July. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and make some investment there so that that's done, we can move on to the park, because that's our asset, and actually the operation of Old Main will fall under the Park and Rec Director at what point in time the city hires and everything. So right now, the school kind of handles the day-to-day up there, but from a facility standpoint, it's still our facility. We're gonna do some cleanup and go ahead and do some things that need to be done, take care of it now, so when we start the park, the Old Main Gym is in fine form. So,
and I did fail to mention, and I did talk with Tim today, because I know that the painting is gonna happen up there, but the committee also had students make tiles that they're going to actually, one of the walls when you first walk in is gonna be these tiles.
a mural, the beautification committee
Yeah,
did
so
that,
that's from the
yes.
beautification committee. And actually, I think that's happening this week, and, because she's on the committee also.
Yeah.
It's happening this week that they're gonna try to get those tiles up.
So it's gonna be pretty neat. Kids have painted tiles that will be put into a mural, and that'll be up there at Old Main Gym. So it's really gonna be a pleasant place for our kids to recreate, and adults, because I gotta tell you, I never was hammered by anything more than, are you putting in pickleball, are you putting in pickleball? So there are 2 pickleball courts up there. The floor's a little bit busy. The actual company, Huffman Company, told me, said, this is a busy floor, but I'll tell you this, we've had busier. So it's a busy floor. It's got volleyball, basketball courts that run sideways for biddy ball, pickleball, it's all there. It's a beautiful, beautiful floor. The logo in the middle, City of Summersville, looks beautiful. So what we got to do now is get in there and clean the place up, get the rest of it updated, and get it ready so we can move on to the park and not have to worry about Old Main. Mary Ann, thank you for that update. Thank you so much. Okay, the next item on the agenda, let me get my glasses back on so I can read here. Okay, council, consideration of proposal to transfer 88.17 acres, 26.619 acres, and 8.11 acres, and access right-of-way recreational park property to the Summersville Building Commission. The purpose of this is we're going to borrow money, and the city cannot borrow that money, the Building Commission can. So that's why all the loans that Mary Ann just went through that are Building Commission, they have 3 readings, we have 2 readings. We have to transfer the property before we can have the first Building Commission reading, which will take place this month. So I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay, we got a first and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion so carries. Next item is the reappointment of Whitney Deaton, sorry Whitney, to the Summersville Board of Zoning Appeals for a 3-year term expiring June 30, 2027.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next one is the reappointment of Tim Fitzwater to the Summersville Board of Zoning Appeals for a 3-year term expiring June 30, 2027.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Next one is reappointment of Brian Bostic to the Summersville Forestry Council for a 3-year term expiring June 30, 2027.
Move to approve.
Got a first and a second? Did you get that, Gary?
Yeah, wait 1 moment. Got it. Got it.
Waiting for you, huh? Okay. So this is for Brian Bostic. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next one is reappointment of Craig Chapman to the Summersville Forestry Council for a 3-year term expiring June 30, 2027.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion so carries. Next one is reappointment of Craig Chapman to the Summersville Planning and Zoning Commission for a 3-year term expiring June 30, 2027.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion so carries. The next one is reappointment of Wayne Halstead to the Brown Oaks Board of Directors for a 3-year term expiring June 30 of 2027.
Move to approve.
Got a first and a second. Do we have questions? Should we have discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion so carries. Okay, before we move on, the only thing I would like to say about all those appointments is thanks to all those people for the service they give on the various committees, and it's not just to them, but it's all the people that are serving on all the committees. As Marianne addressed, she highlighted a couple chairs, but there are all kinds of folks that are engaged with the activities of the city, and we greatly appreciate it. The next item on the agenda is first reading of Article 546, Enforcement Provisions and Citations in regard to external sanitation, weeds, grass, and common nuisances. And I gladly turn this over to the city recorder, who is chairing the Planning and Zoning Commission, who brings these to us for approval. Gary, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I too want to throw a lot of kudos out to our Planning and Zoning Commission, who has been working on these next 3 ordinances for quite a while now. They've put a lot of time and effort into these. The first one, as the mayor read, is a 546 enforcement. This is provisions and citations in regard to external sanitation, weeds, grass, and common nuisances. It's much needed. Our code official, Joey Groves, has struggled a lot with this because until now we really just couldn't write citations, and so he just really couldn't do a whole lot but come out to the home if it was weeds and grass or trash or whatever. He could write a report and give warnings and things, but this puts into a place where he can write citations. I want it known, like I said to the Planning Commission, this is not a money maker. We're not trying to make money by no means. It's my hope that all this does is helps prevent our neighborhoods from looking poor, and people will get excited and get into taking care of what really is their responsibility, and it cleans up the neighborhood. So as a matter of fact, I can go through and I can read all of this if you'd like, but what I would like to do is go ahead and hit on some of the high points of what we were talking about and what we really focused in on. It's really important that when you go down through here and you look, I'm going to read 546.02. It's the purpose. The purpose of this article is to provide additional and alternative enforcement provisions such as citations to enforce the municipal code ordinances regarding exterior sanitation and common nuisance violations related to properties located within the city. These alternatives will allow for application in a fair, speedy, and inexpensive manner and should improve regulation of such ordinances. I think it's important to point this out. Our code official will not be carrying the same citation book that Chief Nowak's men does. He will be carrying a book that will, if you go down and look under, there's subsections of A, B, C. He's taking care of sanitation, grading and damage, drainage, sidewalks and driveways, weeds, accessory structures, motor vehicles. These are vehicles that are sitting on properties that are not licensed and so on and so forth. Graffiti advertising, accumulation of rubbish or garbage, any and all planning, zoning, building, environmental, and law enforcement officers shall have authority to enforce the provisions of this section and shall be referred to herein collectively as enforcement officials. So we think this is I know Joey is very excited about this. He's looking forward to putting it in place. If you go on down and look at the issuance of citations, this is very important. It was very important to our Planning and Zoning Commission. We really looked out for our citizens also. This is just not for us, it's for them. There's appeal processes in this ordinance. If they are not excited or happy about it, and they think they've unfairly been judged, they have the right to an appeal, and they can appeal that. It was also very important to the Planning and Zoning that before any citations take place, there's a 7-day written warning and a notice to those folks. So before it even kicks in, it would be Joey going out and saying, you know, Mr. Doe, your grass is too high, you have 7 days to fix that. And then he would come out in 7 days and then write another warning that if it wasn't corrected in a certain amount of time, 7 days again, he would then be fined $100. Okay, that fine structure's in here. It's basically right here. Okay, under 546.05, the first violation is $100. The second violation is $200 for the second offense. No more nor more than $500 and or order to perform up to 40 hours of community service. Let's hope that it never gets to that point, okay? But it is in there. Our local municipality has a right to access fines not less than $100 per offense and add $10 a day assessment not to exceed the maximum penalty of $500 per citation. So, you know, we have some nice citations in there. It's just to help us and hopefully get the issues corrected. And I think this is a very fair ordinance, both on our part and the citizen. Do I have any questions? Jim and Brandon are both on the commission. If they want to say anything, they sure go right ahead and speak up. But I will entertain any kind of questions on this ordinance.
This was also necessary in their home rule, right?
Yes, under our home rule obligations, after this goes through a first read, second read, if it passes, I will then send this off to home rule as part of our obligation to home rule. This is one of those ordinances that they require.
Well, actually, it was part of our, this is what we said this is what we wanted to get into home rule.
Yes.
So it was part of our application saying we would do this. And this is one of the provisions that we're allowed to do because we're a home rule city.
Thank you.
Okay, so I erred with you, Gary. I should have put it in the form of a motion to start with.
That's
before
fine.
You did all that, so we'll do it now. The next one we'll put it in a
That's
motion
fine.
and then you'll go into your explanation.
That's fine.
So I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Are there any questions? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. First reading passes. Okay, the next one is the first reading of 1105.05, location requirements. Council, you have the document. I'll entertain a motion. Got to move to approve first
Second.
and a second. Sorry about that. I meant to do that last
Oh,
time
no,
for
you're
you.
fine.
We're gonna do location requirements in the other.
Did I skip one?
Let's do 1345-16.
I did skip 13. Okay, let's redo that then. Okay, scratch that from the record, Annabelle. I skipped it on the agenda. I checked it knowing it was next, then I went and looked down and read the next one. Okay, so this is the first reading of 1345.16, minimum square footage of dwelling or structures used as a dwelling. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Okay, we got a first and a second.
Got it.
Okay, the floor is yours, Gary.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're fine. This was this was a real complicated one. We really struggled with this, and it's so interesting as to where it finally landed, and it landed in a way that we thought we were going to, and we had written a new ordinance maybe once, twice, 3 times. We kept struggling with it, and it ended up through the help with our city attorney. Instead of writing an entire new ordinance, we felt that we could add in 1345.16, no dwelling or structure used as a dwelling, whether it be on a temporary or permanent basis, shall contain less than 960 square feet. That number was a tough number to come in at, but after a lot of consideration, we felt it was very fair, considering our mobile home parks and the square footage that was used in those ordinances. And that is kind of where we are with this. Obviously, people may be asking what created this. A lot of this is, and I do not like to use the word or the term tiny homes, but we were beginning to see some of that action, and it was concerning in some of the things that we were beginning to see. So that is why we put this in. So 960 square feet. Obviously, it has to still meet the setbacks and things of that nature. On the lots, we didn't change any of that terminology or wording in that particular zoning code. So the only thing that was changed in there was, and it was added, 1345.16 was the 960 square feet minimum.
What if it's already there? Already,
Yeah, if it's already there, it's grandfathered. I mean, it's just, we can't go out and ask people to tear it down. I mean,
well, no, to
Yeah.
tear them down, but
yeah,
use them, as a garage or something, and then they put a house.
yeah. Yeah, and I certainly understand that. I feel that a lot of those plans and a lot of these tiny homes were built as businesses, in a sense, people from out of state purchasing a piece of property. It was part of their business plan or their portfolio to not only be able to rent the house, but also to be able to rent the small structure that they put in their backyard. So it'd be very difficult to come in after the fact and tell them they cannot.
A lot of what came into play during our discussion was standards relating to tiny homes. There are none. Even the definition of what it is. And it's, if you were to set standards, which would be incredibly difficult to agree on, and we kind of took a stab at that, and that was incredibly difficult. But also, from an enforcement standpoint, even if you could come up with some standards, and we don't know of any standards, but even if you could come up with standards, it would create a whole new building code, basically, for enforcement, which we didn't think we were in a position to do.
It was so difficult.
So that's,
So what you were looking at, and we've all seen these beautiful tiny home structures that show up on our Facebook accounts or in these magazines, and they're gorgeous, right? And they just look beautiful. But how would you have to write it so that you couldn't go down and just purchase a building that you would use for your lawnmower
for your outbuilding.
and like an outbuilding, and they could use that just as well. So it was just really difficult, like Jim said, to try to, put numbers and wording on those things. We tried.
Another thing that we talked about pretty extensively was, I think everyone was in agreement that if someone came to us with a plan, for a community, tiny home community, that would certainly get our attention. And so we're not dealing with this issue of tiny homes, carte
So,
blanche.
but the ordinance minimum square footage is 500, right?
For what?
960.
960.
Oh, is it 960? What did I say?
960.
Another reason we came up with 960 was, in the ordinance for manufactured homes, for example, double wides, there is a minimum of 960. So we didn't see why we'd have one in one place and one in the other. It's something different, so that's kind of why we situated on, came to 960 as the number. This was difficult. This was probably the most difficult thing we've discussed
Yes.
for a long time.
I certainly entertain any questions.
I certainly understand the quagmire. I mean, I talked to Gary a lot about this today because, certainly, I've had the opportunity to see real tiny homes that are certainly, and just put it the way it is, and this is what I told Gary, that look better than some of the structures we have in town that people are living in. But I also now understand that, what could be called a tiny home would really open the door for disaster because, quite frankly, I know of a situation of somebody that did buy an outhouse and turn it into a tiny home. It's here in this county. And so, I don't know how, obviously I don't know how you would control that. So where you can't put the standards, I do agree with what you said, Jim. You'd have to put a whole set of plans together on, what is acceptable from a construction standpoint of a tiny home. So it makes sense. And, in the event that, somebody were going to do a tiny home, all of our ordinances are subject to the Board of Appeals. So even if we did have a rare situation where somebody had a piece of property, it's not to say that they couldn't appeal it to the Board of Appeals and try to get a tiny home put in, if that's what somebody wanted to do. And again, not that it would pass, there's no guarantees on anything. If you've got an ordinance that says you don't want them, then, it stands to be. But as we all know, ordinances aren't always the final say, it's the Board of Zoning and Appeals. And so if there was an ideal situation where somebody had a piece of property that they were going to live in the home, it wasn't going to be an Airbnb, you could see where, that potentially might slide through the Board of Appeals. And as you said, Jim, Gary brought to my attention, some of the discussion you all had is if there ever would be somebody that wanted to take a piece of property and put in a community of them, then that would be something that could also be appealed through the Board of Zoning and Appeals, or Board of Appeals.
I also want to just point out too, there is a pretty good sized portion of our city that is deed restricted against these anyway. Okay, they have deed restrictions and minimum square footages, things of that nature. So we were talking about certain parts of the city being affected by this that did not have deed restrictions. So, that's probably legitimately where those tiny homes would land. Wouldn't you agree, Jim?
Yes.
They would land in some of those areas that are not deed restricted, so.
Yeah, one of the major tenets of planning and zoning, as a body, as a discussion, is the protection of home values, property values. So you can imagine what may happen absent a lot of standards and so forth, what might happen with property values.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too that Gary brought to my attention is, people, you got somebody that's got a house and they put one in their backyard.
Sure.
And now you got, yeah. Okay, any other questions, council? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion so carries. First reading of 1105.05 location requirements.
Okay. I will go ahead and read this one. It's not as lengthy, but I think it's important to know that why this came about. In the current ordinances there's a listing, which really, it's buried in there, and it was kind of hard to find, but there's a listing of what's called an N1 and an N2. And the best way to try to explain it is over where the old main gym is, if you come down over the hill, that's where the majority of them are. You'll find single wide trailers that are on lots. And years and years and years ago, they allowed them just in that particular area. There is a map. We found it. It was behind a couple of other maps, and it was dated way, way back. We thought it was important to take a look at that and protect and to look at that for the other citizens in that area. We thought it was real, real important. So what we did was we are asking this body, the city council, to basically repeal the current ordinance and then replace with what I'm going to read right here. And I believe it's a very fair ordinance, and I believe it should make everybody happy, even the owners that have these. We're not going to get rid of them. They will have some opportunities there, but they will be able to be grandfathered. So, right, it's 1105.05. This is location requirements, obligations of owner or renter. No mobile home, single section manufactured home space shall be allowed in the city except in mobile home, single section manufactured home parks and subdivisions established pursuant to 1105.4. Under sub B, the owners of land in the corporation who are on the effective date of passage of this section renting and or occupying mobile home single section manufactured home space, operating mobile home single section manufactured home parks or subdivisions may continue to operate them in the same manner as allowed under previous ordinances regulating auto trailer and auto trailer parks. So if they have one now and they're renting it, it will continue to be allowed. Okay. Any person who is renting and or occupying mobile home single section manufactured home space may also replace, repair, or remodel the homes. However, in the event any space as now occupied as a mobile home single section manufactured home space becomes vacated more than 6 months, then no other mobile home may be placed on said mobile home space. So that is that's a key component in this. We're not going to allow folks to just leave it completely empty for 6 months. They need to be living in it. And as we know, if you leave things empty, things start going downhill. So that's going to be part of this ordinance. Subsection C, any person who is renting and or occupying mobile home single section manufactured home space may also replace, repair, or remodel the homes. However, in the event any space as now occupied as a mobile home single section manufactured home space becomes vacated for more than 6 months, then no other mobile home may be placed on said mobile home space. I love this one because it gives them the opportunity, if they want to replace it with the new, hey, that doesn't hurt the values in that area. It actually helps them. It's going to be coming in with something newer, better. If they want to remodel, that's fantastic. So that gives them that opportunity. However, they can't leave it dormant for 6 months. In the last subsection D, owners may sell the mobile home single section manufactured home space and mobile home single section manufactured home to other buyers, and such buyers have the right to continue occupying the said lot and unit even though it is located outside of a mobile home sectional manufactured home park or subdivision if such space was occupied prior to. So it does give the new owners the opportunity to continue on in the same way that the previous owner was, whether it be renting or living in it. So I think it's a pretty good ordinance. It's not hurting anybody at all, and I think it's protecting that neighborhood for years to come. I really do. I think it's gonna help it for years to come.
The other affected area, I think, Gary, you mentioned one of the zones, but the other zone was up north on Webster Road in the South Street area,
Yes.
that area up there, and then across the road somewhat in the north end of town there. So I talked to some people up there. In fact, I talked to the mobile home park owner up there. They didn't have any problem with it, and talked also to some residents up there. And since I think this this ordinance was originally enacted, I think there's some nicer homes, there's some nicer properties up there now, and I think it's a good thing for the people who live there. Yeah, so.
Okay, I was stuck with the will again because I meant to put that in the form of a motion before you did all that conversation. So I'll again take a beating here because I'm just sleeping at the game tonight. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of 1105.05 location requirements.
Motion approved. Second.
We've got a first and a second. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion so carries. Gary, I thank you and your committee or Planning and Zoning Committee for their work. Please pass that along. Okay, recorder's report.
I probably said enough this evening, so no report.
All right, no recorder's report. Well, I haven't said enough yet.
You're just getting started.
Yeah, just get started. Okay, council, let me run down a few things. First of all, it's always nice when you do the council grants, although they don't get the money until July 1st. But I would like to read a couple of thank yous that have already been received on the council grants that were officially budgeted and will be dispersed July 1st. This is the City of Summersville. On behalf of the Nicholas County High School Athletic Department, I want to say thanks for choosing us to receive monies from your grant program. We will use the money to help fund our Huddle video. Thanks, Kathy Tyree, Nicholas County High School Athletic Director. You also received a letter, a special thanks to you and the City of Summersville. Of course, they always send these to the mayor, but they are council grants. The City of Summersville for the City Council for your donation to the Nicholas Old Main. Your $4,000 grant funding allows us to purchase defibrillators for each floor of Old Main Arts and Heritage Center. So you got to thank you from Old Main. The last one you got was Children's Home Society. Thank you for the generous grant. Our site, our children, and our families appreciate it. Children's Home Society. So that was correspondence. Would also like to highlight that Brown Oaks is having a dinner on July 12th at 6 p.m. And I turn it over to the re-elected or reappointed board member, Wayne Halstead, to tell us a little bit about the dinner.
It's gonna be good.
Okay? It's going to be good. Okay.
July 12th.
July 12th at 6 p.m. To expand a little bit on it, the chef from the Arena and Conference Center, Chef Oscar, well, I'm horrible tonight. Chef Oscar will be working in conjunction with, I think, ProStart. Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah. And so it's sure to be a wonderful dinner, first class. I will tell you, I'll put the cost out there. It's $50 each person. But I assure you that it will be a well-spent $50 for the evening and the meal that they will provide. So that's on July 12th, 6 p.m. Tickets will go on sale soon, and they're going to go on sale. You can actually purchase your tickets here at City Hall. A couple other things I'd like to highlight. Music at the Pavilion kickoff last Friday night was absolutely fabulous. It was overwhelmed with kids, and that's what it was all about. Not only that, it's a great evening because the kids actually provided the talent. And we had some real superstars, 6 kids that stepped up, all ages, amazingly, and had performances. So a big shout out to the whole night. Again, it highlighted the city's partnership and collaboration that we do with many entities. There were all kinds of booths set up. We did the ribbon cutting for Hyped Up, which is our very own here in the city of Summersville now, Bouncy House business. So we were excited to do, what a better place to do their ribbon cutting. Just a great evening, and I want to thank Mary Ann because logistically, Mary Ann was the logistics behind it and put the whole thing together. So Mary Ann, we thank you and your team because I know you work with many others to make the night happen. In doing so, I know you all got a brochure at your place. This Friday night, June 14th, Rock House Road performs. And of course, the entertainment and refreshments are free. And refreshments this week for Rock House Road will be provided by WVU, Summersville Regional Medical Center, WVU Medicine. So excited about that Friday night. The last thing I want to highlight, council, is we just had a very Rural Partners Network Federal Forum Conference last week, 2-day conference. It really gave us an opportunity to showcase Summersville, brought incredible people from all over. Their numbers tipped almost 300. We had every agency in the federal government was in the house. It was a great networking opportunity, great informative. We are an active participant in the Rural Partners Network. And excitingly, at the end of the conference, they actually announced that being a participant in the RPN, actually now when you submit federal grants, gives you extra points. They fought to get that, they got it, so those extra points will in some way hopefully elevate Rural Partner Network partners, and we were glad to host it. Everybody seemed to be tickled. I certainly told him that I didn't want to be selfish or greedy, but we would like to have the conference back in next year. And there was a lot of smiles, but there's a lot of things that have to do before they pick us again. But I got to tell you, it put heads in beds, it put people in our restaurants. You know, it was a wonderful 2-day conference that brought great exposure to the city of Summersville. So super excited about that. Okay, any council reports? Okay, I do need to have a quick executive session. So with that said, I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session. And let me read this under the authority of the West Virginia Code. And our executive session is going to be for purpose of legal, personnel, and deliberative matters. So we have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.